What happens when one of Hollywood's most beloved comedians sits down for what should be a fun, lighthearted interview, only to find himself under fire from a host determined to provoke him? Today, we're breaking down the explosive moment that led Jim Carrey to storm off the View stage. And trust me, the full story is wild. Don't forget to subscribe, drop a comment, and hit like because this one is unforgettable. The studio lights blazed as Jim Carrey settled into his chair that Tuesday morning, greeting the audience with his signature grin. He was there to talk about his latest project, expecting friendly banter and maybe a few laughs about his iconic roles. What he got instead was anything but predictable. Joy Behar leaned forward, her expression sharp, already signaling a confrontation. "So, Jim," she began, her tone carrying a pointed edge, "let's discuss your recent comments about the entertainment industry. Some people are calling them unhinged." Jim's smile faltered slightly, but he kept his composure. "Well, Joy, after spending decades in this business, you start seeing things differently. The machinery behind the magic can be eye-opening, or delusional," he replied. Joy didn't hesitate. "Because to a lot of people, it sounds like you've completely lost touch with reality." The other hosts exchanged uneasy glances. Whoopi Goldberg shifted in her seat. Sarah Haynes looked down at her notes, while Sunny Host raised an eyebrow at Joy's aggressive approach. Jim's expression hardened. "Are we doing an interview or an interrogation? I thought I was here to talk about my work, not be psychoanalyzed by someone who's never walked in my shoes." "Oh, please," Joy scoffed. "Spare us the victim act. Jim, you make these bizarre statements about Hollywood conspiracies and spiritual awakenings, then act upset when someone calls you out." "Bizarre statements?" Jim repeated, voice rising slightly. "Joy, I've been honest about my experiences. If that makes you uncomfortable, maybe the problem isn't what I'm saying." Joy leaned back, a smug smile crossing her face. "Honest, Jim? You've claimed celebrities are puppets in some grand scheme. You talk about ego death and cosmic consciousness like you're a guru. Do you realize how that sounds to normal people?" "Normal people?" Jim's eyes flashed with hurt and anger. "Joy, I don't think you get to decide what's normal for anyone. My experiences have changed my perspective on life, fame, and what really matters. If that sounds crazy to you, so be it." The studio audience went silent, sensing this was no ordinary interview. Cameras shifted to capture every tense moment. Jim continued, "I never said the industry is evil. But yes, there are unhealthy aspects. The constant pressure for validation, treating people like commodities, maintaining an image that isn't authentic. Is it so wrong to talk about that?" Joy interrupted, dismissive. "You're pretending to be a victim when you've benefited more than most could ever dream of. You've made millions entertaining people, and now you act like Hollywood is some prison." Trying to diffuse the tension, Sarah Haynes interjected, "Maybe we can focus on Jim's upcoming project? The audience would love to hear about it." But Joy wasn't done. "No, this is important. Jim's out here spreading conspiracy theories and anti-industry sentiment, and our viewers deserve to know where this comes from." Jim leaned forward, hands clasped tightly. "Conspiracy theories? I've shared my personal journey of self-discovery. I realized chasing fame and money wasn't fulfilling." "How is that a conspiracy theory?" "Because you imply there's something sinister about an industry employing millions," Joy shot back. "You're feeding the narrative that Hollywood controls minds and manipulates society. That's conspiracy territory." "You're putting words in my mouth," Jim said, frustration clear. "I never mentioned mind control. I spoke about my own emptiness despite having everything and finding meaning beyond material success. If that threatens you, I don't know what to say." Joy laughed, but it wasn't friendly. "Threatens me? Jim, I've been in this business longer than you. I've seen countless celebrities have midlife crises and spout philosophy. The difference is, most don't do it on national TV while bad-mouthing the industry that made them relevant." The tension was now palpable. Every eye in the studio fixed on the unfolding showdown. Whoopi looked like she wanted to intervene, but seemed unsure how to handle the escalating situation. The other hosts shifted uncomfortably in their seats, while Jim appeared to be nearing the end of his patience. "You know what, Joy?" Jim said, his voice low but intense. "I came here thinking we could have a real conversation. About art, about life, about what it means to be human in this crazy world. Instead, you seem determined to paint me as some delusional has-been who's lost his mind." "I'm not painting you as anything," Joy replied coolly. "I'm asking why you think it's appropriate to use your platform to spread negativity about an industry that's given you everything." "Given me everything?" Jim's voice rose again. "Joy, do you have any idea what it's like to lose yourself completely in a character, in a persona, until you forget who you really are? To have millions love an image of you while feeling hollow inside?" "Oh, boo-hoo," Joy said, her tone dripping with mock sympathy. "Poor little rich actor having an existential crisis. Jim, you signed up for this life. Nobody forced you to become a celebrity." Her words hit deep. Jim's face flushed, and for a moment, the mask of composure he had maintained slipped. He stared at Joy, breathing slightly labored. When he spoke, again, his tone was colder, more measured than anyone had heard from him publicly. "Nobody forced me to become a celebrity," he repeated slowly. "You're right about that. But nobody warned me I'd be sitting across from people like you. People who seem to take pleasure in tearing others down for daring to grow and change." Joy's eyes narrowed. "I'm not tearing you down, Jim. I'm asking you to take responsibility for your words and actions. There's a difference." Jim let out a bitter laugh. "Joy, I've taken more responsibility for my life in the past few years than I did in decades combined. I've examined my mistakes, my choices, my patterns. I've done the work. But what I won't do is apologize for speaking honestly about what I've learned." Whoopi finally spoke. "Jim, I think what Joy means is that when you have a platform, your words carry weight. People listen to you." "That's exactly why I speak the truth," Jim replied, turning to Whoopi with respect. "You, of all people, know what it means to use your voice authentically. I'm not telling people what to think or how to live. I'm sharing my journey." But Joy wasn't done. "Your journey includes making statements that could impact other people's careers. When you say the industry is fake or manipulative, you're generalizing in ways that affect real people." "What real people?" Jim asked, his patience wearing thin. "The executives who treat actors like commodities, agents who care more about commissions than clients, publicists who craft fake personas, thousands of crew members, writers, directors, and producers." Joy fired back. "You're diminishing their work when you paint Hollywood negatively." "Joy, you're deliberately misunderstanding me," Jim said, shaking his head. "I'm not attacking the people who make films and TV possible. I'm talking about a system that prioritizes profit over people, image over authenticity. Those are very different things, aren't they?" Joy leaned forward, her tone sharp. "Because it seems you're happy to take the money from that system while condemning it. Isn't that hypocritical?" The studio went silent except for the hum of the cameras. Jim studied her carefully before responding. "You know what's hypocritical, Joy? Pretending that asking someone to be authentic is an attack. You've seen what this industry does to people. You've watched talent get lost chasing fame. And yet you defend a system you know can be destructive, simply because it's been good to you personally." Joy's face reddened. "I'm defending an industry that provides entertainment, jobs, and economic growth. I'm defending the idea that successful people should show a little gratitude instead of constantly complaining about their privileged lives." Jim gave a sad smile. "Gratitude. That's what this is really about, isn't it? You think that because I've been successful, I should just be thankful. Never mind that success without fulfillment is just a prettier form of misery. Oh, please, Joy rolled her eyes. Jim, you sound like a self-help book written by someone who's never had a real problem. Her words struck him like a physical blow. His face hardened, and the entire studio shifted uneasily. Never had a real problem? Jim asked quietly. Joy, do you know anything about my childhood? Do you know what it was like growing up in poverty, watching my father work job after job just to keep the family afloat? Do you know what it's like to feel responsible for making everyone happy, because humor was the only way I could cope? Joy looked briefly taken aback, but recovered quickly. Jim, I'm not trying to diminish your background, but let's be honest, you've been wealthy and famous for most of your adult life. Whatever struggles you had in childhood, Joy said, her voice sharp, you've had the resources to address them for years. Jim's voice rose, carrying a controlled fury. Joy, you can't buy your way out of trauma. You can't purchase self-worth. You can't write a check to fill the void inside from spending years pretending to be someone you're not. Money doesn't fix everything, no matter what you think. Sarah Haynes tried to steer the conversation gently. Maybe we could talk about how your experiences have influenced your creative process. I imagine that kind of self-reflection affects how you approach roles now. But Jim's gaze locked on Joy, piercing and unwavering. You want to know what I've learned, Joy? The people most threatened by authenticity are usually the ones most invested in maintaining their masks. When someone attacks your honesty about struggles, it's often because your truth makes them uncomfortable about their own choices. Joy's jaw tightened. Are you psychoanalyzing me now, Jim? Last I checked, you're not a licensed therapist or a critic of other people's personal growth. Jim shot back, his voice edged with frustration. That hasn't stopped you from spending the last 10 minutes tearing apart everything I've shared about my journey. The tension in the studio was almost tangible. Sunny Host looked ready to vanish into the floor, while Whoopi shook her head, silently wishing things had gone differently. Joy leaned forward, voice dripping with condescension. You know what I think, Jim? You're going through a phase. Eventually, you'll snap back to reality and realize all this spiritual guru nonsense was just another role. Another character you played because the real Jim Carrey wasn't interesting enough anymore. The words hung in the air like poison. Jim stared at her, cycling through emotions. Hurt, anger, disappointment, and finally, a hint of pity. Another character, he repeated softly. Joy. What if I told you all those roles I played? The ones that made people laugh. Those were the performances. What if this, right here, right now, is the real me? The honest me trying to speak about what it means to be human? Joy shrugged dismissively. Then I'd say the real you is a lot less entertaining than the fake version. The silence that followed was deafening. Jim sat still, absorbing her words, then looked up with a newfound clarity. You know what, Joy? He said, calm but final. You just proved everything I've been trying to say about this industry. You just demonstrated why so many people in entertainment are miserable, why they turn to substances, why they break down, why they sometimes take their own lives. Joy started to interrupt, but Jim held up his hand. No. Let me finish. You just told me the authentic me has less value than the performance. Do you understand what that means? You just told a human being their truth, their honesty, is worth less than what they perform for you. That's exactly the toxic mindset I've been speaking about. The very reason I had to step away and discover who I really am beneath all the characters. Joy's face reddened, a mix of anger and embarrassment. Jim, you're being overly dramatic. I was pointing out that your fans love your comedic work, not your philosophical rambling. My philosophical rambling? Jim repeated, smiling for the first time in the interview, though it was anything but pleasant. Joy, I told you about growing up in poverty, struggling with trauma, losing myself in fame, and doing the hard work of rediscovering my authentic self. And you call that rambling? He slowly stood, reaching for his microphone. This is exactly why I avoid most interviews. Because people like you think vulnerability is weakness, growth is nonsense, and authenticity is less valuable than entertainment. Joy realized the control had shifted. We could have had a civilized conversation, Jim continued, removing his microphone carefully. But you chose to mock my journey, my experiences, my growth. You told me the real me isn't good enough for your audience. Whoopi finally interjected, trying to calm things. Jim, please, let's just take a breath and start over. Jim turned to her with genuine respect. Whoopi, you're a class act, and I admire you, but I won't sit here and let someone destroy my character under the guise of journalism. This isn't journalism, this is bullying. Joy stood as well, voice rising. Bullying? Jim, you came here to promote your work. That means answering tough questions about your public statements. If you can't handle that, maybe interviews aren't for you. Tough questions? Jim laughed, but there was no humor in it. You attacked my mental state, dismissed my experiences, mocked my journey, and told me I'm less valuable as an authentic person than as a performer. Those aren't questions. Those are insults wrapped in the pretense of journalism. The studio went completely silent. The audience watched, wide-eyed, caught between fascination and shock. Some pulled out their phones, recording what was already feeling like an unprecedented moment on live television. Joy's voice sharpened. You're being incredibly unprofessional right now, Jim. This is live TV. You can't just walk away because you don't like the direction of the conversation. Jim paused, eyes glimmering with a mixture of sadness and resolve. Joy, do you know what's truly unprofessional? Inviting someone on your show under the pretense of promoting their work and then spending the entire time trying to tear them down personally. Do you know what's unprofessional? Using your platform to attack someone's character instead of engaging with their ideas. He turned to the cameras, speaking directly to the audience. You know what, folks? This right here is exactly what I've been talking about. This is the kind of toxic environment that exists in parts of this industry, where people are valued only for their ability to entertain, where authenticity is treated like a flaw, where personal growth is mocked and dismissed. Joy, now desperate, tried to regain control. Jim, you're making a scene. This isn't necessary. Jim raised an eyebrow, calm but firm. Joy, you spent the last 15 minutes making a scene. You turned what should have been a pleasant conversation into a character assassination. I'm just refusing to participate anymore. Sarah Haynes attempted one last olive branch. Jim, maybe we could talk about your upcoming projects. I know you have exciting things in the works. Jim's expression softened slightly, acknowledging her sincerity. Sarah, you seem like a genuinely nice person, and I appreciate your efforts. But it's clear this isn't the right environment for a constructive conversation. He scanned the studio, taking in shocked crew members, uncomfortable hosts, and Joy's flushed, angry face. You know what I've learned? He said, voice ringing through the room. I've learned you can't force people to understand your journey. You can't make someone respect your growth if they're invested in keeping you in the box they've created for you. And you definitely can't have an authentic conversation with someone who sees authenticity as a character flaw. Joy made a final attempt to provoke him. So, you're just going to run away? This is how you handle conflict? Jim stopped, turned back to face her one last time, eyes steady. Walking away from toxicity isn't running away. It's self-respect. It's knowing that not every battle is worth fighting, especially when the other person has no interest in actually listening. He looked back to the cameras, voice firm and inspiring. To anyone watching this, struggling with your own journey of self-discovery, figuring out who you really are, beneath the expectations of others, don't let people like this discourage you. Don't let anyone tell you that your authentic self isn't valuable. Don't let anyone convince you that growth and change are signs of weakness or instability. Joy's voice rose, almost a shout. You can't just leave in the middle of an interview. This is unprofessional. Jim called over his shoulder as he walked toward the exit. What's unprofessional is using your platform to attack someone's character instead of engaging with their ideas. What's unprofessional is inviting someone on your show just to tear them down. I hope someday you figure out the difference. And with that, Jim Carrey walked off the View stage, leaving behind a stunned studio, a speechless audience, and Joy Behar frozen, finally realizing she had pushed one of Hollywood's most beloved figures too far. The cameras kept rolling as Whoopi attempted to regain control, but everyone knew they had witnessed something historic. A moment where authenticity met toxicity, and it was crystal clear who had emerged victorious. So what do you think? Was Jim right to walk away, or should he have stayed and fought? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more unbelievable celebrity moments like this. Because trust me, this is just the tip of the iceberg.